The new season of World of Tanks is here right now, and today's video we're going to have a look at everything that you need to know about this update. Of course, it is live right now, so you can jump onto the game and try it out, and there's actually some really cool stuff that Wargaming have done, along with some really random stuff that they've done as well, which is with regards to the hit points of some of the vehicles within the game. So we'll have a look at that in just a second, and we'll get straight into the news now. So first things first, let's have a look at what this update is all about. Well, of course, it is as part of the new season. It is the Season of War Heroes. It's available from now until August 1st, so we've got just over 2 months to be able to complete the season, which is absolutely fine. It's not going to be a problem for you guys to be able to get to rank 100, which is essentially where you get some of the premium tanks. Now, I did a full video on the actual season pass itself, so I will link that at the end of this video and put it in the pinned comment in the description so you can see exactly the rewards breakdown. But we'll give the brief overview, which is essentially the 2 new tanks that they've introduced, which is the M636 Condor as well as the T58 Heavy. Now, the Condor is the rank 100 reward for having the normal season pass, and of course the T58 Heavy is the ultimate season pass, which you can pick up right now for 6,000 gold. And I have actually played it myself. There'll be a full review of the 58 Heavy coming out tomorrow, so if you're interested in picking this thing up but you're not too sure whether you want to spend the extra gold, maybe wait until that video to have a look. And of course you can check out right now some of the other content creators. I'm sure Petty will come out with a review which you can have a look at too. So of course, just have a holistic view. Don't just look at one person, look at a few people's videos, and of course make up what you think about the tank. Now, current kind of the way in which I find it playing in the game, it's good, but I find it very boring. It is a tank that has a long intricate reload. It has 750 alpha. You got 3 shells in the magazine. It's an autoloader and can do 2,250 damage with this tank. So it's a really high amount of total damage that this tank can deal, but it is once again over 15 seconds and it plays kind of boringly. I was not a massive fan of when I did play it, but it is good. It is definitely a decent vehicle, but yeah, just keep that in mind when you do see this thing in the game. But then we have the Condor, which is essentially a kind of a first era or era 1 vehicle. It has 65% bonus silver, which is nice, but overall looks pretty average, and I think from what people are saying, it is kind of average. Good DPM for the era, but yeah, I mean, other than that, it's kind of a bit weak. But I mean, it's a nice one to have, and of course, for those of you interested in Cold War, it's nice to have. But more importantly, of course, you can have a look at the rest of the details for the actual season pass rewards in that video, like I said, and I'll link that. But the next thing that we'll have a look at is the update notes, because this is something that Wargaming didn't release when we did our video on the actual season pass, and this looks at the specific information that we've been given about the general updates, not just the new season. And usually with every new season we have a whole host of changes that Wargaming add in, and the first one is Cold War medals. So Wargaming have noticed that people honestly wanted medals in Cold War, obviously, because I don't know why they didn't already have them in there, but essentially they've added all of them in there. So as well as some kind of unique medals that are only available to Cold War, which is essentially the Juggernauts medal, which is awarded to players for destroying 10 to 13 enemies in one battle, so it's basically like a pools medal. You've got the Frost Heroes medal, which is for 8 or 9 vehicles in the game, which is essentially the Radley Walters medal, and then you've got Devoted Gunner, which is essentially for damage core, same, and that just carries through for different classes, etc. And yeah, and then you've got some other ones, which is essentially Eagle Eye, which is damage the most unspotted enemy vehicle. So of course in Cold War you can see vehicles whether they're spotted or not, and that is nice to have. And then Fire and Forget is the missile one, which is awarded to the player with the most damage from missiles, essentially. So yeah, nice to see. And then that is the medals. I mean, they are self-explanatory. You know, you've got your common ones, so it's nice to have in there. But more importantly, we have a new map back, and it is Svorogorsk, and I managed to play this map actually today as the recording of this, and yeah, it's actually a pretty decent map. We had it a long time ago. It was in the game back in the day in World of Tanks console, so you could have played it then, but essentially it is back, and it's nice to see in the game. So it is primarily, there's a trench running through the middle of the map that you don't really want to go into. There's then the two flanks that you usually go into. There's like both of them are kind of corridors. There's not much room for light tanks, to be honest, on this one, so it is kind of a bit of a sucky one for light tanks. You can spot from the middle, which is essentially the only sort of tanks that really go in the middle reliably, but you can go in there in heavy tanks if you have a good turret and you can go through that dip and kind of fight your way through the middle, and then you can kind of flank around behind some of the other flanks. But either way, we can have a look at the map in some detail when we actually get a gameplay on it that I can showcase to you, which I believe may even be on the T58 Heavy, since we did get a decent result. But more importantly, this one is going to be added in, but also with some changes to the matchmaker. So essentially what Wargaming had previously is that for every single time you log into the matchmaker, you would have a history of the amount of maps that you've played, and that would be 10 maps that you've recently played. And so now what they've done is they've reduced it to 4 of them to allow for a larger pool of maps to select from. So essentially it just speeds up the choices for Wargaming to just get into the games and stuff like that. And so yeah, this will allow players to see a greater variety of maps to pick from and improve the chances of new maps showing up for players. So sounds good. Obviously we don't know the ins and outs, they're being pretty vague here, but I mean, yeah, it's nice to have some changes to that. Hopefully it does actually work and we're not just seeing the same couple of maps being constantly pushed down our throats, or feel like you're getting unlucky with just getting the same maps over and over again, but we'll have to wait and see. Then there is some new cosmetic options as well. So this is actual camouflage that you can put on your vehicle. So that's for Italy and also France. The Italian camos look really nice, actually. I'm looking forward to playing these, but they are available essentially as post-war camos, but they are available in World War II. So although it sounds like they're not, they are. But either way, you've then obviously got the French camos that you can see here. These look kind of cool in the game. So yeah, it's just nice to have some extra camos and stuff that you can actually change about your vehicles. So that's good. And then they've added all of the phonetic alphabet inscriptions at Alpha Bravo, Charlie Delta, Echo Foxtrot, blah, 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 all the way down to Zulu. So essentially you can put those on your tank if you're interested. Nothing too big there. Then they've made some new player improvements, which are essentially that they've gone through and they've added in some kind of starter missions for people to complete, which rewards them with a premium vehicle, some premium commander, gives you a little bit of extra stuff, garage slots, that sort of thing, that makes it easy for new players to kind of jump in and not have such a horrible grind to be able to earn some silver and that sort of stuff. So it's nice to have in the game. I definitely think new players will appreciate this. I think it's good. And they've also changed the appearance for training missions as well, so you can do all 4 of the training missions, which is helpful. And essentially they've changed them so that you can see like the aim, zoom and shoot basics. You've got driving, armor and live exercise training. So you can see all of those, which is nice to have, and of course is beneficial for people who are starting, at least maybe in terms of just learning the core basics. Obviously World of Tanks is quite complex when it comes to everything that you need to know when you first start playing. It's kind of just a throw yourself into the action and hope you don't end up back in the garage in 30 seconds after starting the game, or at least that was my experience at the very beginning. But yeah, maybe there's better ways of doing the training, but for the meantime it's a decent addition and it's nice to have. And of course they're giving away the T95E3 and of course a tier 3 premium. I don't know why they bother doing this, since no one should really be playing this if you're trying to get better, and if you're a new player it's kind of going to be difficult. Maybe they should just given away the Panzer V4 for everyone to use as a new player. I'm pretty sure anyone could be able to do well in that. But moving swiftly on, They've added 2 Cold War starter vehicles for every player, so as soon as you start you'll be able to get the Centurion Mark II and also the M50 Sherman, so you can get those straight off the bat, you don't have to pay for them. And they've also increased the health of mid to low tier World War II vehicles, so this is what I was on about at the beginning of the video. They've essentially gone through and buffed the hit points of some of the vehicles by nearly almost double, and some of them by 50%, and even as you go through the tiers they've buffed them all up. So seems like they're trying to make them compete with more of those tier 7 vehicles, and of course the tier higher. Obviously it doesn't do a whole lot when it comes to tier 3 to 4 since they've all been buffed together, so all of the hit points just move further upwards, so they're more towards the kind of higher tier vehicles, so you won't see much of a difference at the lower tiers. Obviously maybe there's a difference in how much they've percentage increased the lower tiers so that there isn't so much of a disparity in hit points, because you can see here the tier 3 by the looks of it is almost doubled, whereas the tier 2 has nearly doubled as well, and then the tier 5 looks like it's added 50%, or the other tier 4. Yeah, I mean, hopefully it's all kind of done on a basis of percentages, and so the lower health vehicle or the lowest health vehicles have more of an increase than the highest health vehicles, because otherwise you'll just end up making it so that only tier 6s really get a benefit from it. But other than that, I mean, it's a good change. Hopefully it doesn't make some of the more overpowered vehicles at this low tier even more overpowered. As you can see, there's a ton, and these are mainly the tech tree vehicles as opposed to the premium vehicles, as I'm sure you can expect that some of them are a little bit more overpowered if you start giving them health boosts. Wargaming have also removed some of the horrible camos from bots being able to use them, so that you don't end up with some of the bots on your team or in, for example, co-op mode on Cold War with these horrible pink camos which shine out like a sore thumb, and therefore, you know, they get taken out a lot quicker than if you have a normal camo. And I mean, I'm sure some people still use pink camos as a player for some reason on Cold War, even though it does actually negatively impact you. So some of the camos are obviously going to be not ideal for if you're trying to remain hidden, and a bright pink camo does stick out on a lot of maps. Of course, same with some of the bright blue and that sort of stuff, and some of the obnoxious looking camos do that, so just stay aware. There's also been barrel smoke FX has been removed for sniper cam as well, so this is for the 4x zoom since it's horrible. Color coded the game mode indicator text as well, so there's blue text for co-op, orange for multiplayer, and they've added support for the logs to communicate the refunds when vehicle modules or shells are updated or removed, so you'll be able to see, and of course updated the logs to better show rewards when completing multiple stages at once. So this will show you in the actual like battle log what rewards you've actually been able to get when you've completed those stages of the missions. And then there's been a ton of issues that have been addressed, so you can just pause the video right here if you're interested and read through yourself. I'm not going to go through all of them since there are an absolute ton of them, and they're kind of a lot of them being minor fixes and stuff like that, but essentially, a lot of them have been changed, and there's also been some changes with some of the silver purchase prices for some of the Cold War vehicles, such that some of the guns were really cheap and now they've made them super expensive. Yay, I'm sure you guys are very, very happy about that. And then they've also changed some of the maps as well, such that they've removed some of the weird, awful kind of bugs that were happening where you could see through certain places or people getting into unintended areas, which is always brilliant. It's always nice to have things like that, but yeah, it's nice to see that they've done some kind of nice user experience changes and stuff like that. But there's one more thing that I really want to have a look at, and that is the D-Day challenge and sale. So of course, with June 6th being today, you are of course celebrating D-Day, or at least not necessarily celebrating it, but you guys know what I mean. It's of course the anniversary of D-Day, and so essentially what Wargaming have done is there is an earn operation for 3 different premium tanks. Now you can only pick one of them, but Of course, you can make a pick as to which one you want, and essentially it's an earn a point objective where you have to earn 1,000 or more XP in any number of battles and you'll get 1 point along with some silver. It's nothing major, 500 silver. It's not going to break, it's not going to basically give you anything. And of course, you'll get extra points for destroying a German vehicle in a battle if you're playing in an American, French and British vehicle only, and that will give you 1 point additional, so you can get 2 points maximum, and essentially you can complete the 1,000 or more XP multiple times depending on how much XP you get. And as you go through, the total points that you need to get to be able to actually pick one of the vehicles is 350 points. So that is essentially 350 games where you have a decent game. So that's quite a lot. And of course, the operation is only available for 2 weeks. So you've got to complete what, like 175 games in a week? Yeah, it's pretty tough. Of course, that's on average for the average player. If you're better than average, you're going to do it quicker. If you're new to the game, it'll probably take you longer. So for the most part, it's going to take a ton of time, but don't stress about it. As I always say when it comes to these earn operations, just play the game if you're enjoying it. If you're not enjoying it, don't stress about trying to get a tier 7 premium tank, especially when, they're not outrageously crazy. But if you are going to pick them, my preference would be to get the 1357, then I'd get the Eagle 7, and then I'd get the FL10, which is the Jackal. Those are kind of the priority order that I would go with. If I haven't got any of them, I'd start with the 1357, T26E3 Eagle, then the Jackal as my choice. Of course, if you have all of them, you will get rewarded with the silver equivalent, which is quite nice as well. And you'll essentially just get a little addition to silver. So always pick the most expensive. If you've got them all, then just pick the one that is going to give you the most amount of silver. Following on from that, there's also some D-Day sales. So this is on premium tanks. They're essentially 50% off, but they do put in some vehicle slots, which I'm pretty sure they charge as gold value. So yeah, just be aware of that when they say that it's 50% off. I'm not entirely sure, but I'm pretty sure they do that with the emblems and stuff like that. So just be aware. But overall, you've got the first one being Allied Assault, which gives you the Chimera, the Chrysler K, and the EOC even 90, which is a good little mix of tanks. They're all quite decent. 14,000 gold, so it's about £45, something like that. So, I mean, it's decent. But yeah, I don't know whether I'd go out of my way to get that bundle, but it's not a bad one if you want the tanks. And then the next one is the Rheinmetall Scorpion G and the Panther 88, which is 9,750 gold. That's pretty decent. Scorpion G is very good. The Panther 88, kind of not so much, but it has been buffed recently, so stay tuned for a video on that I'll do on the channel. And then, of course, we've got the Batchat Bourrasque and the Panzer 58 Mutz for 8,500 gold, which is pretty decent. The Batchat Bourrasque is one of my favourite premium tier 8 medium tanks. It's from the French line, and it's actually very nice. The Panzer 58 Mutz, more of a kind of average / below average medium tank, to be honest. Kind of been power crept a little bit since it was first introduced, but still a competitive one to a degree. Moving on then, the Scouting Aces, which is the Hawk 30 and the Senlac. The Senlac, from my personal experience, is pretty bad, but the Hawk 30 is very, very good and very flexible. But yeah, I mean, it just depends whether you want them. 7,000 gold isn't a bad price for both of them if you're interested in both of them. Then we have the Icebreaker and the T77 heavy tank, both of which are pretty decent tanks. And so 9,250 gold is a decent amount of discount to be able to pick them both up, being that they are two heavy tanks as well, since they are usually priced a lot higher than some of the mediums that we see in the game. But that is pretty much all of the additional update news that we have. And of course, yes, the season is going on for about 2 months. So it's a long old season. And yeah, with the Needle contract as well coming in, so you can pick that up if you're interested as part of the mercenary contracts. And yeah, just a continuation of some of the other stuff. And of course, it is Aquino Tank Weekend. So you can, if you kind of want to join in with the festivities, I don't know what you want to call it, celebrations, I don't know, you can essentially just play and earn yourself a special Aquino Tank Weekend emblem that is just a ATW 23. So you can have that. And of course, Tank Fest is coming up as well, so that will be coming up for that time, and I'll actually be there, so you may or may not see me there if you're there on the Saturday, along with Ricky Tiki Tave, I believe. But yeah, I'll be looking forward to seeing you guys if you do actually go there. I'll probably be out and about around the gaming booth and that sort of stuff, so you may or may not see me, I don't know. Either way, then there's some modern tank bundles as well that you can get, which is the AMX auto-loading missile launcher, which I loved, and the MBT-70, which is okay. Cold War Rangers, you've got the NM-116, which was very good, and the Conqueror, which was mediocre. And then the TCM AGS and the T-72 Ural, which were both pretty decent in my opinion. So yeah, that's probably the best of the bundles, but still it's quite expensive. But it is only a 40% discount, so don't go out of your way. There's also a new tank of the month for June, which is the FV201A45, which is nice. And you can pick that up along with some boosters and stuff, and I think it's like $10 or like £8 or something like that, so you can pick that up if you're interested. And there's a new skin for the M4A3E8 Sherman, which is, as you can see, looks pretty cool, and I like it when they add in new skins and stuff like that. So it's a DDay skin, essentially, 2,500 gold, not bad, especially if you enjoy playing them. And that's basically it for this week's update news, and of course the new season. Don't forget, go check out that other video where you can have a look at the actual season pass rewards, what's good, whether you should buy the ultimate season pass, whether you should get the standard season pass, or whether you should just play completely free. Let me know in the comment section down below if you have any opinions on that. But other than that, I hope you have a fantastic rest of the day, and I hope you join me back in tomorrow's video where we look at the T58 Heavy, and I'll see you there. Goodbye.